This is the Hartford Museum Spring Gala, where New York's elite gather to celebrate wealth disguised as charity. 23-year-old Amara Bennett moves through the crowd. Black uniform, white apron, invisible, the way servers always are. She balances a tray with the practiced grace of someone who's worked 3 jobs since high school. Against her dark skin, a silver necklace catches the light. A crescent moon intertwined with a compass rose. Weathered, old, beautiful. A woman's voice cuts through the murmur. Isn't it inappropriate for the help to wear jewelry, especially something so ostentatious? Heads turn, whispers ripple. Amara's hand instinctively touches the necklace, the only possession from a past she can't remember. Then everything stops. 81-year-old Eleanor Whitmore stands frozen. For a heartbeat, the room forgets how to breathe. Crystal chandeliers shimmer above polished marble floors, but no one notices anymore. 500 of the wealthiest people in New York, bankers, heirs, donors, politicians, are all watching the same thing, a billionaire staring at a server like she's seen a ghost. Eleanor Whitmore's champagne glass slips from her fingers. It shatters against the floor. The sound is sharp, violent, final. Security takes one step forward, unsure whether they're reacting to a medical emergency or a breach of protocol. Eleanor doesn't blink. Her pale blue eyes are locked on the necklace resting against Amara Bennett's chest. Not the girl. The necklace. No, Eleanor whispers, her voice thin, almost childlike. That's not possible. Amara feels her stomach drop. She's been looked at like this before. Suspicion, judgment, quiet accusation. Being black in rooms like this teaches you the difference between curiosity and condemnation. I'm sorry, Mom, Amara says softly, already preparing to apologize for existing. If I've done something wrong. Where did you get that necklace? Eleanor cuts in. The question slices through the ballroom. A woman in an ivory gown steps forward, lips tight with practiced concern. Mrs. Whitmore, perhaps this isn't the place. But Eleanor doesn't hear her. I asked you, Eleanor says again, louder now, her voice trembling. Where did you get it? Amara swallows. Every instinct tells her this is dangerous territory. Still, she answers with the truth she's carried her whole life. I've had it since I was a baby, she says. It was with me when I was found. Found, the word lands like a stone. Eleanor stumbles forward. Her hand reaches out, stopping inches from the silver crescent. She doesn't touch it, not yet, as if afraid it might vanish. That necklace, Eleanor whispers, tears pooling in her eyes, belonged to my daughter. The room erupts into whispers. Stolen. Impossible. Is this some kind of stunt? Amara's heart begins to race. Ma'am, I think there's been a mistake. There is no mistake, Eleanor says, her voice breaking. I had that necklace made, custom, Florence, May of 2002. She finally touches it. Her fingers trace the compass rose, then she turns it over and finds the engraving. 05-29.02. Eleanor's knees buckle. Security rushes forward as Eleanor Whitmore collapses into Amara's arms, sobbing. The billionaire is crying against the chest of a girl who doesn't even know her own parents. And in that moment, nothing about either of their lives will ever be the same. How could a priceless necklace, lost over 20 years ago, end up on the neck of a struggling young server? And what secret did Eleanor Whitmore just realize she buried along with her daughter? 3 days earlier, Amara Bennett's world was quiet. Not peaceful, just small. Her Bronx apartment measured less than 500 square feet. Peeling paint. A window that never quite closed. Sirens at night that blended into white noise. But it was hers. Nursing textbooks covered every surface: anatomy, pharmacology, patient care. Finals were 2 weeks away, and Amara studied like her future depended on it. Because it did. She worked double shifts catering elite events, cleaned offices on weekends, and still sent money back to the foster mother who'd taken her in when no one else would. On her desk sat a worn manila folder. Her life. All of it. She opened it like she had 1,000 times before. Birth certificate, baby girl Bennett. Parents unknown. Found June 15th, 2002. Location, Roosevelt Medical Center. Inside was a single photograph. The same silver necklace. Pinned to a hospital blanket when she was found. No note, no explanation. Just an object too expensive for a newborn no one claimed. Her roommate, Tessa, leaned against the doorway. "You're staring at it again." "It's not just jewelry," Amara said. "Look at the craftsmanship. This wasn't random." "Maybe your mom wanted you to have something beautiful," Tessa offered gently. "Or maybe she wanted someone to recognize me," Amara whispered. Amara had never taken the necklace off. Not for school, not for work. Not even when supervisors warned her, including Greg, her catering manager. "The Whitmore Gala is tomorrow," he'd told her earlier that week. "Strict rules, no jewelry, especially not something flashy." Amara nodded, but she already knew the truth. She could take off a uniform. She could take off a name. But she couldn't take off the only proof she'd ever existed. That same night across Manhattan, Eleanor Whitmore sat alone in her private study. Above the fireplace hung a portrait of her daughter, Victoria, smiling, young, full of life. Around her neck, the same necklace. "Tomorrow," Eleanor whispered to the painting, "I'll talk about hope." She didn't know that hope was already walking toward her, wearing a white apron. If Amara was abandoned as a newborn, and Eleanor buried her daughter believing the baby died, then who lied? And why did they make sure the necklace survived? The private sitting room off the gala hall feels smaller than it should. Thick velvet curtains block the music and laughter from outside, sealing Amara inside a silence that presses against her ears. Eleanor Whitmore sits across from her now, posture rigid, hands folded as if she's afraid they'll start shaking again. They already are. "This isn't an interrogation," Eleanor says, though her voice suggests she's barely holding herself together. "I need to understand." Amara nods, her fingers twisted tightly in her apron. "I don't have much to tell." "Tell me anyway." So she does. She explains the hospital, the foster system, the 7 homes. The way people stopped asking questions when she turned 18. She talks about working 3 jobs, about nursing school, about the folder she carries everywhere like proof she exists. Eleanor listens without interrupting. Every detail lands like a blow. "You were found on June 15th? Eleanor asks quietly. "Yes." Eleanor closes her eyes. "My daughter died on June 12th, she says, at Roosevelt Medical Center." The air in the room changes. A man standing near the door, Eleanor's longtime assistant, shifts uncomfortably. Another man, older, sharp-eyed, wearing a detective's posture despite the tailored suit, finally speaks. "Mrs. Whitmore," he says carefully, "are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting," Eleanor replies, opening her eyes. "I'm stating facts." She reaches for the necklace again, turning it over with trembling fingers. "This engraving date, May 29th, 2002, that was supposed to be the day Victoria and I picked these up together." Amara's breath catches. "These?" Eleanor removes a brooch from her lapel and places it on the table. It's identical. Same crescent, same compass rose, same metalwork. Amara stares, her chest tightening. "That's impossible." Eleanor's voice cracks. "So is you." The detective clears his throat. "Miss Bennett, were you born at Roosevelt?" "I don't know," Amara says. "The records don't say." "They don't say much of anything," Eleanor mutters bitterly. Silence settles. Then Eleanor looks at Amara with a mix of terror and desperate hope. "We need to do a DNA test," she says. The words hit like thunder. "If there's even a chance." Eleanor continues, standing now, her voice steady but fierce. "I will not live another day without knowing the truth." Amara's heart pounds. "And if I'm not?" "Then I'll apologize," Eleanor says gently. "And I'll make sure you never struggle again." The detective nods. "I can have expedited testing done tonight." Amara thinks of her entire life balanced on a cotton swab. "Okay," she whispers. "Let's do it." If the DNA confirms the impossible, it won't just reunite a family. It will expose a lie buried for over 2 decades. 4 hours later, a medical lab in Manhattan hums quietly under fluorescent lights. Amara sits on a vinyl chair, arms folded, staring at the floor. Eleanor sits beside her, unusually small without her armor of wealth and power. Neither speaks. The detective types rapidly on his laptop, pulling records from hospital archives older than Amara herself. Victoria Whitmore, he reads aloud. Admitted June 12, 2002. Severe head trauma. Emergency C-section performed. Eleanor inhales sharply. Official record states infant female delivered stillborn, he continues. Amara's chest tightens. But 3 days later, he adds, scrolling, an infant female was found abandoned near the emergency entrance. Estimated age 3 to 4 days. Healthy, no complications. Amara looks up. That's me. Yes, the detective says, and there's more. He pauses. The intake notes mention a distinguishing mark. Eleanor turns slowly. What kind of mark? A strawberry-shaped birthmark, left shoulder blade. The room freezes. Amara's voice is barely audible. I have one. Eleanor stares at her. Show me! Amara hesitates, then gently pulls her collar aside. There it is. Small, reddish, heart-shaped. Eleanor lets out a sound that isn't quite a sob. Victoria had the same mark, she whispers. Same place. Same shape. The lab technician enters with an envelope. DNA results. Everyone stands. The technician hands it to Eleanor, who can barely hold it steady. She opens the paper, scans the first line, then the second. Her knees give out. 97%, she chokes. She's my granddaughter. Amara's world collapses and rebuilds all at once. She isn't unwanted. She was stolen. Eleanor wraps her arms around her, holding her like she's afraid the universe might take her back. Outside, the city moves on, unaware that a buried truth has just clawed its way into the light. If Amara was taken and deliberately erased, then who falsified the records? And how far were they willing to go to keep the secret buried forever? Morning light spills through the tall windows of Eleanor Whitmore's estate, but nothing about this day feels bright. Amara sits at the long dining table, untouched tea cooling in front of her. Across from her, Eleanor stares at a wall of framed photographs. Fundraisers, galas, smiling faces frozen in time. So all those years, Amara says quietly, you thought I died. Eleanor nods, her voice hollow. They told me the baby didn't survive the surgery. They said seeing her would be too traumatic. She swallows hard. I believed them. The detective, Raymond Costa, lays out documents across the table. Someone didn't just make a mistake. Records were altered. Signatures forged. That takes intent. Eleanor straightens, grief giving way to something sharper. Then find who benefited, Costa taps a page. If Victoria's child had lived, she would have inherited her mother's share of the estate. Amara frowns. How much are we talking about? Eleanor hesitates. Nearly $2 billion today. The number hangs heavy in the air. So someone erased me, Amara whispers. For money. Yes, Eleanor says. And they made sure you disappeared. Costa continues. When Victoria died without a recognized heir, her assets reverted to secondary beneficiaries. My team is tracing where the money went. A knock interrupts them. Eleanor's nephew's widow, Carolyn Whitmore, steps inside. Perfect posture, perfect smile. I heard about the chaos at the gala, Carolyn says smoothly. Eleanor, darling, are you feeling better? Her eyes flick briefly to Amara. Assessing, Eleanor's gaze hardens. We're uncovering some old truths, Carolyn laughs lightly. How dramatic. Costa watches her closely. Carolyn, Eleanor says calmly, where were you the night Victoria died? The smile falters, just for a second. At the hospital, she says, like everyone else. Silence stretches. Carolyn adjusts her purse strap. This is exhausting. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Eleanor doesn't respond. She's already decided. Someone lied. And that lie built an empire. If billions changed hands the moment Amara was erased, then the truth won't just reunite a family. It will expose a criminal empire hiding in plain sight. That afternoon, Costa's phone rings. A name flashes on the screen. Linda Hartwell, he murmurs. Former surgical nurse. He answers on speaker. I saw the news, an elderly woman's voice says, shaky but firm. About the necklace. About the baby. Eleanor grips the table. Please, she says, tell us what you know. There's a long pause. I was in the operating room, Linda says finally. The baby didn't die. She was crying. Strong lungs. Amara covers her mouth. But the attending doctor took her, Linda continues. Told us to document stillbirth, said it was a family request. Eleanor's hands tremble. And you believed him? I was young, Linda says, voice cracking. And scared. 3 days later, I saw him again in the parking garage. Costa leans forward. What did you see? He handed a woman a bundle wrapped in a hospital blanket. Carolyn's face flashes in Eleanor's mind. What did the woman look like? Eleanor asks. Tall, confident, designer coat, red. The room goes silent. Linda exhales. I tried to report it, but the hospital administrator shut me down. Then the threats started. What kind of threats? Amara asks. They sent pictures of my daughter's school, Linda says softly. I kept quiet. Eleanor closes her eyes. A baby was stolen. A nurse was silenced, and someone powerful made sure it stayed buried. Costa ends the call. This wasn't just theft, he says grimly. This was a coordinated cover-up. Eleanor stands, her grief transformed into resolve. Then we dig, she says. Every record, every payment, every name. She turns to Amara. I lost 23 years, Eleanor says. But whoever did this will lose everything. Amara nods, because now she knows the truth. And the truth is coming for someone. If a nurse was threatened into silence, then someone still powerful enough to destroy lives may still be watching. And Amara could be their next target. The first threat comes quietly. A text message flashes on Amara's phone late that night. While she's sitting in the guest room Eleanor insisted she use. Stop asking questions. You survived once. Don't test your luck. Her hands go cold. She screenshots the message and sends it to Detective Costa without replying. Within minutes, security outside the estate doubles. Eleanor is furious. Not loud, not dramatic, but terrifyingly calm. They're afraid, Eleanor says. That means we're close. Costa nods. Or they think intimidation will work. Amara swallows. It almost did. The next morning, Costa brings financial records, wire transfers, shell companies, consulting fees paid to hospital administrators shortly after Victoria's death. Someone greased the system, Costa explains. Enough money to make paperwork disappear. And enough power to keep everyone quiet, Eleanor adds. A name appears repeatedly in the documents. Dr. Philip Grayson, former hospital administrator. And here, Costa says, tapping the screen, is where it gets interesting. A transfer authorized by Whitmore Industries, signed by Eleanor's late nephew. Eleanor stiffens. Thomas wouldn't. He might have, Costa says gently. Or someone used him. That afternoon, Amara insists on returning to her old apartment to collect textbooks and clothes. Security advises against it. I need my life, Amara says, not just the truth. It's a mistake. As she unlocks the door, the apartment is dark, darker than it should be. Before she can react, a hand grabs her from behind. A man's voice hisses in her ear. You should have stayed invisible. She fights, elbows, knees, instinct. She breaks free and runs screaming into the street. The attacker disappears. But the message is clear. This isn't history anymore, it's war. If someone tried to silence Amara once, who ordered it? And how far will they go now that the truth is closing in? 2 hours later, Costa studies security footage. The attacker's face is clear. Keith Mallory, Costa says grimly. Corporate security contractor, specializes in intimidation. Eleanor's eyes narrow. Who hired him? Costa checks the authorization. Whitmore Industries Security Division. Silence. The approval signature appears on screen, not Eleanor's, Carolyn Whitmore's. Before an arrest can be made, Mallory is found dead. Single gunshot. Ruled a suicide. No one believes it. They're cleaning house, Costa mutters. That night, Eleanor receives a call. A priest, elderly, weak voice. Thomas Whitmore confessed, he says, before he died. Eleanor grips the phone. He said he didn't plan it, the priest continues. He said someone else convinced him. Who? Eleanor whispers. A woman Victoria trusted like a sister. The name lands like a bomb. Dr. Naomi Carter, Victoria's best friend, maid of honor, the woman who held Eleanor's hand at the funeral. Costa pulls her file. Divorce, debt, a secret loan co-signed by Victoria months before her death, $2 million. If Victoria died without an heir, Costa says slowly, the loan disappears. Amara's chest tightens. She stole my life, Amara whispers. And killed my daughter, Eleanor says. They schedule Naomi's interview for the next day. She agrees too easily. As Eleanor stares out the window, one truth becomes undeniable. The greatest betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from family. If the woman Victoria trusted most orchestrated everything, what will happen when she finally has nowhere left to hide? Dr. Naomi Carter arrives at the station 15 minutes early, perfectly tailored suit, calm smile, expensive handbag resting on her arm like armor. She looks exactly like someone with nothing to hide. Eleanor, Naomi says warmly when she sees her. I heard about Amara. What a miracle. Eleanor doesn't return the smile. Detective Costa begins gently, almost respectfully. Dr. Carter, we're reviewing events surrounding Victoria Whitmore's death. Naomi nods. Of course, that was a devastating time. We've confirmed Victoria's baby survived, Costa continues, and was deliberately removed from hospital records. Naomi's eyes flick, just once, to Amara. That's extraordinary, Naomi says. Medicine wasn't perfect back then. Costa slides documents across the table. Phone records. 17 calls between you and the hospital administrator in the week before Victoria died. Naomi exhales lightly. Victoria asked me to help coordinate things. Like what? Eleanor asks, her voice cold. Naomi hesitates. Support. Logistics. Costa presses play on a scratchy audio recording. A woman's voice fills the room. Tell Grayson it's done. Naomi's hand tightens on her bag. That could be anyone, her lawyer interjects. Costa nods. We thought so too, until we matched the voice. He slides another report forward. 92% probability. Naomi's composure begins to crack. Victoria trusted you, Eleanor says. You held her secrets. Why would you betray her? Naomi laughs suddenly, sharp and bitter. Because trust doesn't pay debts. The room goes still. If Naomi breaks, the entire conspiracy will collapse. But will she confess, or burn everything down instead? Naomi stands abruptly. Fine, she snaps. You want honesty? Her lawyer reaches for her arm. Naomi! She shakes him off. Yes, I arranged it, she says, voice shaking with fury. Victoria had everything, and she was going to throw it away on charity and motherhood. Eleanor trembles with rage. You murdered my daughter. Naomi scoffs. She died in an accident. I just managed the aftermath. Amara can barely breathe. You erased me, Amara says. You decided I wasn't worth existing. Naomi looks at her with empty eyes. You survived, didn't you? Look at you now. The words land like a slap. Costa stands. Dr. Naomi Carter, you're under arrest. Naomi doesn't resist. As handcuffs click shut, she smiles and cold, broken. You think justice fixes this? She says. You lost 23 years. You don't get them back. Eleanor steps forward, her voice steady. No, but we get the truth. Naomi is led away screaming. Outside cameras flash. Inside, Amara collapses into Eleanor's arms. It's over, or so they think. If Naomi confessed, why does Eleanor still feel like something is missing? And what else did Naomi destroy to protect herself? The courtroom is packed. Cameras line the walls. Reporters whisper. Every seat is filled with people who waited decades for this story to make sense. Amara sits beside Eleanor, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She's worn scrubs for years, stood through double shifts, survived things she never talks about, but nothing has ever made her feel smaller than this wooden bench. Across the room, Naomi Carter sits in an orange jumpsuit. No designer suit, no polished smile, just a woman finally stripped of control. The prosecutor lays it all out. The falsified hospital records, the payments, the threats, the stolen child. A retired nurse testifies next, her voice shaking but determined. The baby was alive, crying, healthy. Amara closes her eyes. Then the former doctor takes the stand. I was paid to document a stillbirth, he admits. I regret it every day. Gasps ripple through the room. Finally, Amara is called. She stands slowly, walks to the witness stand and faces the courtroom. I grew up believing I wasn't wanted, she says. That something was wrong with me, she swallows hard. Now I know someone decided my life was inconvenient. Naomi stares straight ahead. The judge's voice is calm but firm when the verdict is read. Guilty on all counts. Naomi doesn't cry. She doesn't look at Eleanor. She doesn't look at Amara. As she's led away, Eleanor exhales, a breath she's been holding for 23 years. Justice doesn't erase the pain, but it finally names it. With the truth finally spoken, can a family stolen by greed learn how to live again, or is healing the hardest chapter of all? 6 months later, the gardens at the Whitmore estate are quiet. Amara walks slowly along the path, nursing badge clipped to her coat. She finished school, passed her exams, earned everything the hard way. Eleanor watches from the terrace, smiling softly. They are still learning each other. Eleanor wants to give everything, houses, money, security. Amara wants something else. I want to work, she says gently. I want to help people, that's who I am. So Eleanor listens. Together, they launch a foundation focused on foster care reform, medical accountability, and children lost in the system. Amara speaks at the first meeting. No child should grow up believing they were thrown away, she says. Truth matters, records matter, people matter. Applause fills the room. Later, they visit Victoria's grave. Eleanor places flowers. Amara places her hand on the stone. I'm here, she whispers. I made it. Eleanor takes her hand. You were never lost, she says. You were stolen. As they walk away, Amara touches the necklace. The crescent moon and compass rose catching the light once more. Not a symbol of loss anymore, but of direction, of home. Some secrets survive decades. Some truths refuse to stay buried. And some families find their way back, no matter how long it takes. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs hope. Because every forgotten child deserves to be found. Before we move on, let me ask you something. What happens when someone uses money to humiliate a stranger, and that stranger responds with wisdom money can't buy? The next story proves that arrogance doesn't always win, and sometimes the quietest voice delivers the most powerful lesson. Don't miss what happens next. Click the next video now. You'll be glad you did.